Hi, this is Rick Peterson. Happy New Year. Want to spend a little time today on the video sharing some comments from other members of Washington & Lee about our move to Microsoft Outlook and Exchange. As you know, we're in the middle of our migration right now and are on track to finish that by the end of February. So far things have been going well, and here's a couple people to tell you about their experience.
So tell me how this transition to Outlook from GroupWise has been. How smoothly has that gone?
It's been very smooth. As we were just talking, the people who were here to help us really were helpful, and they appeared on the scene a number of times. They answered questions that I had when I was experimenting with different aspects of the new software. So that it went very smoothly because of them. And
how well have you adapted to this new tool? What are your observations about the differences between it and GroupWise?
I like the look of Outlook better than GroupWise. Just the lines and the colors and the fonts. I just like the look of it better. The only thing about GroupWise that I like better was that when I sent somebody an email, I could get a message back saying that so-and-so opened my email. Maybe I just haven't discovered the corresponding function on Outlook yet.
There actually is a return receipt requested. You can do that.
There is that?
Outlook.
Okay.
Yep, there sure is.
I need to find that, yeah. Good. Toward the end with GroupWise, I was getting a lot of messages that said, you have used 92% of your quota space, and I had to go in and delete some old files, so I'm delighted to have the additional space available.
Tell me about the transition from GroupWise. How smoothly did that go? Was your data available pretty quickly? How difficult was it to make the change?
For me, it was very smooth. Since I use a tablet, basically a laptop, I had to be sure to put it in the dock on the day that the transfer was going to occur, and went to a few meetings, came back later, and the Outlook client was there. When I first opened it up, not all the email and folders were there, but then 5 minutes later, magically, everything was back and arranged largely as I had had it before in GroupWise. So it was very smooth for me.
And how would you compare GroupWise to Outlook in terms of the tools and the functionality?
First of all, I'd always been very frustrated with GroupWise for a lot of reasons. Some of the sort of keystrokes that you could use to send or forward an email or just didn't make a lot of sense. So the interface, the look and feel of Outlook, to my mind, is much nicer, much more intuitive, much smoother, and the calendaring is much better in Outlook. One of the best things is that the Outlook calendar and the email synchronizes automatically with my iPhone through the Exchange server. So for people who have iPhones, Outlook is a huge advantage. I don't recall any major adjustments. I tend to adjust to those things pretty quickly. One of the things I do remember is that whereas in GroupWise it would automatically complete a name that you were typing into the to or copy field, Outlook doesn't automatically do that unless it's a name you've already used. So initially, the first few times, you need to make sure you type it in correctly, but there's also a check names button above the to field, so if you want to make sure you've typed them all in correctly, you can click that, and then they get underlined to show that they're appropriate.
One big difference with Outlook is that for all practical purposes, there's no more managing the size of your mailbox. We've greatly increased the quotas, and because of automatic archiving, you don't have to worry about the size of your mailbox, whereas for some people that was an issue in GroupWise.
Yeah, that was a huge issue in GroupWise for me because I do almost all of my grading electronically, so I have students sending me papers, and I save papers that colleagues send me, and maybe I don't want to look at it immediately and don't want to save it to the hard drive, so I leave it in GroupWise, say, and so I'd be constantly bumping up at 95%, and then if somebody sent me a bunch of pictures or something I wasn't expecting, then I wouldn't be able to send an email until I cleared out my mailbox. And unless you wanted to be really ruthless and just delete a bunch of stuff, you always had that problem of bumping the top of the quota and worrying about all that. But I haven't noticed that at all with Outlook, because I understand the quota is much larger and stuff is archived relatively frequently, and it's easy to access the archived stuff. It's almost transparent to the user.
Kelly, you've been using Outlook for some time. For a couple of months, you were one of the early pilot users with members of ITS. And so I just want to hear about your experience with it. Tell me about the transition from GroupWise, and how smoothly did the data come over, and how easy was it to kind of get going with Outlook?
It went very well. It was very easy. The only thing I really had to do on my part was the personal contacts, to make sure that they were in my personal folder.
The frequent contacts.
The frequent contacts are in my personal folder. But that wasn't too difficult to do, and then the rest was very easy. Nobody even came down and worked on my computer. So I recall they did it remotely, and then they called and told me I was ready. Yeah, I do like Outlook better. It seems more intuitive, and the features are easier to figure out how to use. It seems like it has more features too. Also, I might be a little bit biased in that I'd used Outlook a lot in the past, so I'm already a little familiar with it. And GroupWise was new to me when I came here to W&L. But I do like a lot of the features, the calendar especially. I like that you can take, when an email comes in that you need to follow up on in another week or two, you can move it to the tasks, and then within the tasks you can set reminders. And I use those kind of features a lot, the reminders and snoozes, and and GroupWise I found a little difficult to use for those kinds of things. I also like the out of office. The out of office is really easy to use.
Setting up an out of office automatic reply message.
Yeah, it's an automatic reply. It was a little tricky in GroupWise. You had to set up a rule and do a bunch of stuff. And the other thing with Outlook, when you come back from vacation or some time off, as soon as you turn on your computer and Outlook comes up, a pop-up comes up that says, do you want to turn the out of office off? So where in GroupWise you had to remember to unset it, or make sure you had your rules set right. So I like some of those features.